Alrighty, today we're going to go over the directions on how to make your rainbow weaving. Alright, so you already painted half of your plate. You wrote your name on the back. You've added some clouds here if you would like. And now it's time for us to start cutting some notches into our loom. And our loom is what we're weaving on today. Sometimes we weave on a paper loom. Sometimes we weave on a whole plate as our loom. Sometimes we weave on a wooden loom. But today our loom is going to be a half of a paper plate. So what you're going to do is we're going to turn our plate upside down and grab a pencil. And first we're going to find the very middle on the bottom. And we're going to make a little line. And the same thing on the top. We're going to make a little line right there in the middle. And so now our plate is cut into two sections. So 1, 2. Now we're going to cut this part in half with a line. We're going to cut this part in half with a line. If it's not perfectly in half, that's okay, but we want to get it as best as we can to cut that section in half. We're going to do the same thing again. We're going to cut each section in half. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 sections, and we're going to cut each in half. We can think about it as slices of pizza. We have 1 slice, 2 slices, 3 slices, 4 slices. I'm going to cut them in half again, like we have to share this pizza. So I'm going to cut this one in half, cut this one in half, cut this one in half, and cut this one in half. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 slices. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut on each of these slices. And see how there's some different layers, some different levels. So like there's level 1, level 2, level 3, different levels in my plate. I'm only going to cut on that first level. I don't want to cut up onto the second highest. All right, so I just cut a little notch there. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cuts, and they should be all the same distance from each other. All right, I'm also going to make a cut here on that first line we made in the middle. All right, so you should have a little tiny notch here and 7 notches around the side. And when we're wrapping our loom today, we're going to kind of pretend like we're flossing teeth. So we want to pretend like these are teeth, and we're going to put that floss right in between the teeth. So I'm going to use white today to wrap my loom. And I'm going to start here. This is going to be our home base. So I'm going to start at home base, and I'm going to floss my teeth here, put that right through there. So I have a little tail in the back. We can use a piece of tape to tape that down so it doesn't go anywhere for us. Then what we're going to do is I'm going to start on one side, and I'm going to make my way all the way around. And every time I need to remember to go back to home base. So I'm going to go to the first notch, and I'm going to go home. I'm going to go to the second notch, and I'm going to go home. Third notch, and you can see I'm wrapping it around the back. I'm going through the back door at home base. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4th, back to home. 5th, back to home. 6th, back to home, and 7. So once I get to my last one, I don't need to go back home again. I can just trim off any leftovers I have here. And I'm going to use another piece of tape to tape that tail down. So now that we have our loom wrapped, we're going to get ready and start weaving. So I'm going to start with my rainbow, and for our rainbow we're going to have to start backwards. So we're going to start with violet first and go all the way back up to red or even pink if we want to add it. So we're going to start with purple first, and depending on how your art room is, some of you might have a box to pull your yarn from, or a bottle, or in my classroom we have a yarn wall. And so you're going to go get some purple, and the way I like to measure it is I like to take my tail between my thumb and my pointer finger, and then I'm going to wrap this around my hand, and I'm going to count. We had 7 here, remember, when we did our loom? So we're going to count to 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that's all we need. Then I'm going to trim there, and I have the perfect amount. So to start weaving, this is going to be a little trick to save your tail. So I'm going to take the tail of my purple and I'm going to put it through home base like we did before. And that's just so I don't lose the end. And now I'm going to get the other end of my tail and I'm going to start to weave. So I'm going to go under, over, under, over, under, over, under. And then I'm going to turn around and I'm going to go back this way. Under, over, under, over, under, over. And I'm going to turn back around. So you're going this way. All right, so let's get started weaving. Under, over, under. I like to do 2 under, over, under, pull. It's going to be a pattern. I'm going to get my tail. You can see the last thing my purple string was, it went under this white. So now I'm going to go over, under, pull. You always want to pull it tight. So now I'm at the edge. I'm going to turn back around. And you can see here, the last thing I did is I went under this white string. So now I'm going to go over the white string. I always have to do the opposite. I have to keep it in a pattern. We don't want to go under, under. It's always under, over, under, over, under, over. Go over, under, over, under, over, under, over. And then I can pull. So you want to keep weaving under, over, under, over, under, over, under, and you always make sure you want to pull it tight. You don't want to pull it too tight that it starts to pull on your white strings. You just want to pull it tight enough so that you don't have any hanging off on the edge. So you want to keep weaving under, over, under, over, under, over, pull until you think you have enough purple. So I'm going to say I probably have enough purple here. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to trim any off here. Before I do that, I'm going to pull my tail back out from home base, and oh, look, I have 2 tails on the same side. I'm going to weave this one more time. Under, over, under, over, under, over, under, pull. So that I have 1 tail on this side and 1 tail on this side, and then I'm going to trim it. So I want a little tail hanging off on both edges, because you can see on our finished one we leave some tails hanging down. So now we can go ahead and measure out our next color. Our next color is going to be blue. So here I go, I find my blue. I'm going to measure it. Remember, I'm going to take the end between my pointer and my thumb. I'm going to wrap it around my hand 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. And then I am going to trim, and that's just the right amount I need for my next color. So if you forgot what we did with the purple, we'll start by putting our blue tail through home base so that we don't lose it. So we'll leave it there, we'll leave a little bit hanging back here, and now I'm going to start weaving. I'm going to start under, over, under, over, under, over, under. And I always pull it tight. Not too tight that it starts to yank on my white strings, just tight enough. And remember, you can see the last thing I did with my blue was I went under this white, so now I'm going to, when I turn around, I'm going to do the opposite, and I'm going to go over it. Over, under, over, under, over, under, over, pull. While you're weaving, if you forget to do the opposite when you're turning around, so you can see here, the last thing I went under, if I go under again, if I forget to switch, what's going to happen is, so I went under here and I'm going to forget, so I'm just going to keep going under, over, under, over, under, over, under. When I pull it, look, it's just gonna pull all the way through and it's gonna take away that last one I did. So it's not gonna get you in a knot or mess you up. It'll just undo the last thing that you did. So you always have to remember to look, what was the last thing that your string did? I can see here the last thing that my string did was go over the white. So now I'm gonna go under the white. Alrighty, so I stopped here at red on my weaving, and if you want to, you could also add some pink to the top of your red, like this example. If you wanted to add another color to your rainbow, on this one I'm just going to keep with the standard colors that are in the rainbow or that are in the color wheel. If you wanted to include indigo in here, sometimes we always forget about indigo. You can include indigo in here between purple and blue, so it's nice and Roy G. Biv. If you and you can make whatever changes to it you want. If you wanted to add some other colors to the top, you can do that as well. One of my friends that's an art teacher, her name is Ashley, she decided to add some texture, some cotton balls along the bottom here for some real looking clouds that give us another nice texture here on the bottom. So that's another idea for your rainbow weavings. I hope that you guys have fun.